I rushed my sick daughter to the hospital, praying it was nothing serious. But the moment the doctor walked into the room, my entire world stopped. He was my ex-boyfriend, the man who abandoned me when I was pregnant. What happened next was even worse. The medical tests revealed something impossible. My daughter began seeing someone nobody else could see. Hospital equipment turned on by itself. Security cameras captured a figure that should not have existed. And then a terrifying message appeared on a monitor. A message that changed everything. By the end of that night, I discovered a shocking secret buried for more than 10 years. A secret that connected my daughter, a dead man, and a mistake I thought the world had forgotten. Stay until the end, because the final truth will leave you speechless. I gripped my daughter's tiny hand as we rushed through the sliding glass doors of the hospital. The sharp scent of antiseptic stung my nose. Bright white lights flooded the hallway. The wheels of a passing stretcher rattled against the polished floor. My daughter leaned against me, her skin burning with fever. Her breathing sounded shallow. Each breath felt like a warning. A nurse guided us toward the emergency department. Voices echoed from distant rooms. Monitors beeped in uneven rhythms. The sounds blended into a tense, mechanical heartbeat. I tried to stay calm. I focused on my daughter's face, her pale cheeks, her trembling lips. The nurse glanced at a chart. Then, she pointed toward an examination room. "The doctor will be here shortly." I nodded. My throat felt dry. Minutes crawled by. The clock on the wall ticked louder with every second. My daughter squeezed my fingers. "Mama, I feel strange." Fear twisted inside my chest. The door opened. A doctor stepped into the room. I looked up. My stomach dropped. The world seemed to tilt. It was him, Ethan, the man who had once promised me forever. The man who vanished the moment he learned I was pregnant. For a second, neither of us moved. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. His face lost all color. The clipboard nearly slipped from his hands. His eyes locked onto mine. Then they shifted to my daughter. A long silence filled the room. Heavy, uncomfortable, almost unbearable. My pulse thundered in my ears. I could smell the sterile scent of latex gloves. I could hear the distant squeak of shoes in the hallway. Yet all my attention remained fixed on him. His jaw tightened. His eyes returned to my daughter. A strange expression crossed his face. Shock, confusion, recognition. He swallowed hard. "What is her name?" His voice sounded unsteady. I answered, "Lily." The moment the name left my lips, something changed in his expression. His hand trembled, only slightly, but I noticed. Years ago, when we planned our future together, we had chosen that name. Lily, for a daughter we dreamed of having. A daughter he never expected to meet. His gaze lingered on her face. The shape of her eyes, the curve of her chin, features that mirrored his own. A cold sensation crept down my spine. The room suddenly felt smaller. The air felt heavier. Ethan slowly opened her medical file. His eyes scanned the information. Then he froze. His fingers tightened around the folder. He looked at the date of birth, looked back at Lily, then at me. A deep silence settled between us, one so thick it felt impossible to breathe. Lily shifted on the bed. A soft cough escaped her lips. Ethan blinked rapidly, as though fighting against something. Then he whispered a single question. A question that sent ice through my veins. "Is she mine?" Before I could answer, an alarm erupted from the monitor beside Lily. A piercing sound shattered the silence. The screen flashed red. Nurses rushed into the room. The atmosphere changed instantly. Urgent voices filled the air. Equipment rolled across the floor. Ethan's expression transformed from stunned ex-boyfriend to focused physician. Yet even as he moved toward my daughter, his eyes kept returning to me, as if he already knew the answer, as if the truth had been staring at him from the moment he walked through that door. Then one of the nurses gasped. She stared at Lily's monitor, her face drained of color. And when Ethan saw what she was looking at, the clipboard slipped from his hands and crashed onto the floor. The sound echoed through the room. No one spoke. No one moved. Because the test results appearing on the screen revealed something none of us expected. Something far more terrifying than a secret father. Something that made Ethan step backward in horror as he whispered, "That is impossible." The monitor continued flashing. The red warning light reflected in his wide eyes. A chill swept through the room. And deep inside, I realized that whatever was happening to my daughter had only just begun. The nurse stared at the screen. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Ethan stepped closer. The glow from the monitor illuminated his face. His eyes moved rapidly across the results. Then he grabbed the edge of the desk, as though he needed something to steady himself. My heart pounded harder. "What is it?" No one answered. The room felt frozen. Even the constant hospital noises seemed distant, muted, like I was underwater. Lily lay on the bed, her small chest rising and falling. Her skin looked even paler now. The red warning light continued blinking. Ethan finally turned toward me. "There has to be a mistake." His voice sounded strained. "What mistake?" He looked back at the screen. "The blood analysis." Fear tightened around my chest. "What about it?" He swallowed. "The markers in her blood are unlike anything I have ever seen." A cold chill spread through me. One of the nurses quickly disconnected the monitor. Another rushed from the room, carrying the report. The atmosphere became frantic, urgent, terrifying. Lily suddenly grabbed my wrist. Her fingers felt icy. "Mama!" I leaned closer. Her eyes opened. Wide. Unnaturally wide. For a brief second, I noticed something strange. Her pupils seemed larger than normal, almost swallowing the color of her eyes. Then they returned to normal. So quickly I wondered if I imagined it. Ethan noticed too. I saw it in his expression. The nurse returned moments later, followed by an older physician. His silver hair was neatly combed. His face carried years of experience. Yet the moment he looked at Lily's chart, concern appeared in his eyes. A concern that made my stomach twist. He reviewed every page carefully. Then he looked at Lily, then at Ethan. "Run the tests again." The room became silent. Ethan nodded immediately. As the nurses prepared another blood draw, the lights flickered. Only once. A quick flash, but enough to make everyone look up. The older physician frowned. The lights stabilized. The machines resumed their steady hum. Yet unease lingered in the room. A nurse carefully inserted a needle into Lily's arm. She barely reacted. That frightened me more than anything. Normally she hated needles. Normally she cried. Now she simply stared at the ceiling. Expressionless. The fresh samples disappeared into the laboratory. Minutes passed. Then 30 minutes. Then an hour. I remained beside Lily, watching every breath, every movement. Ethan remained nearby, silent. His face carried the weight of countless questions. Questions neither of us wanted to ask. Outside the room, rain began striking the windows. The soft tapping gradually grew louder. The gray afternoon darkened. Clouds swallowed the sunlight. The hospital corridors seemed dimmer, colder. Then the laboratory results arrived. The older physician opened the file. His eyes widened. His hands visibly shook. A heavy silence followed. The nurse beside him slowly backed away. "What is wrong?" My voice cracked. The physician looked directly at me, then at Ethan. "The results match." My stomach dropped. "What results?" His face turned pale. "The abnormalities are real." The room fell silent again. The physician hesitated, as though choosing his words carefully. Then he spoke. "Every blood sample shows the same thing." Ethan stepped forward. "What exactly are we looking at?" The physician exhaled slowly. "The cellular regeneration rate." I frowned, not understanding. The physician looked toward Lily, then back at us. "Her cells are repairing themselves at an impossible speed." Confusion washed over me. "What does that mean?" The physician hesitated. "It means injuries should not heal this quickly." My mind raced. Then Ethan suddenly remembered something. His eyes snapped toward me. "When she was younger." His voice trembled. "Did she ever have unusual accidents?" I stared at him. A memory surfaced. Years ago, Lily had fallen from a tree. A deep cut opened across her arm. I rushed her to urgent care. Yet by the next morning the wound was nearly gone. Doctors called it remarkable healing. Nothing more. Another memory followed. A broken finger during a playground accident. The fracture disappeared within days. Doctors blamed an imaging error. My pulse quickened. The physician saw the realization on my face. His expression darkened. "You have seen this before." I slowly nodded. The room became very quiet. Rain hammered against the windows. Thunder rumbled somewhere in the distance. Then Lily suddenly sat upright. Every nurse jumped. I nearly screamed. One moment she had been lying still. The next she was sitting straight up, her eyes fixed on the far wall. Unblinking. Motionless. The room held its breath. Lily! No response. Her gaze remained locked on something invisible. The physician carefully approached. Lily! Still nothing. Then she slowly raised one finger, pointing toward the hallway. Every person in the room turned. There was nothing there. Just an empty corridor. Bright lights. Silent walls. Yet Lily continued pointing. A strange tension settled over everyone. Then she spoke. Her voice sounded distant, almost dreamlike. There is a man standing there. Fear crawled through my chest. The hallway remained empty. The nurses exchanged nervous glances. Ethan stepped closer. What man? Lily never looked away. The sad man. A cold sensation spread through the room. The physician frowned. What sad man? Lily answered immediately. The man with blood on his shirt. No one spoke. My breathing became shallow. The hallway was empty. Completely empty. Then Lily slowly turned her head, looking directly at Ethan. Her expression remained blank, emotionless, and in a quiet voice that barely rose above a whisper, she said, He is standing behind you now. Ethan froze. The color drained from his face. Every nurse stared at the space behind him. No one moved. No one spoke. The rain pounded harder against the windows. The fluorescent lights flickered again. And this time, the room suddenly became ice cold. The sudden drop in temperature sent goosebumps across my arms. I wrapped my hands around Lily. Yet even through her hospital blanket, she felt warm. Too warm. The contrast made my skin crawl. Everyone in the room remained frozen, staring at Ethan, or rather at the empty space behind him. Ethan slowly turned around. His movements were careful, almost fearful. The hallway remained deserted, bright, silent. Nothing stood there. Nothing at all. Yet Lily continued watching. Her eyes followed something moving through the corridor. Something invisible to the rest of us. The older physician cleared his throat, trying to restore some sense of normality. Lily has a high fever. His voice sounded forced. Hallucinations are possible. One of the nurses nodded quickly, grateful for an explanation. But Ethan was not convinced. I could see it. His eyes never left Lily, as though he sensed something was terribly wrong. The lights flickered once more. This time several monitors briefly shut off. A sharp series of alarms erupted throughout the ward. The sounds echoed from distant rooms. Nurses rushed into hallways. Voices shouted instructions. Then everything returned to normal. The machines powered back on. The alarm stopped, but unease lingered. Heavy, oppressive. The physician ordered Lily moved to a private observation room. A nurse wheeled her bed through dim corridors. I walked beside her. Ethan followed behind. Rain continued pounding the windows. The storm outside had become violent. Thunder shook the building. The observation room sat at the end of a quiet hallway, far from the crowded emergency department, far from the noise. The room felt isolated, almost forgotten. A large window overlooked the parking lot. Streetlights cast pale reflections across the wet pavement. The storm transformed everything into shifting shadows. Lily seemed calmer now. Her breathing had steadied. Her eyes slowly closed. I sat beside her bed. Exhaustion settled into my bones. Hours had passed. Fear had drained every ounce of strength from me. Ethan stood near the doorway, silent, watching. Finally he spoke. I searched for you. I looked up sharply. The words caught me off guard. For years I imagined what I would say if I ever saw him again. Anger, resentment, questions. Now none of those words came. Only silence. Ethan lowered his gaze. I came back. His voice cracked. When I learned what happened, I stared at him. What happened? His expression darkened. My father. The answer surprised me. He found out about the pregnancy. Thunder shook the windows. Rain streamed down the glass. He threatened you? Ethan nodded. He threatened both of us. A bitter laugh escaped me. That was enough reason to disappear. Pain flashed across his face. You never received my letters. The room suddenly felt smaller. What letters? His eyes widened. I wrote every week. My stomach tightened. I never received anything. The realization hit both of us simultaneously. Someone had hidden them. Someone had kept us apart. Before either of us could speak again, Lily suddenly sat upright. The movement startled us. Her eyes were open, but something felt wrong. Very wrong. She was staring directly at the window. The rain covered the glass in flowing sheets. The parking lot beyond was nearly empty. Only a handful of cars remained. Lily slowly raised her hand, pointing outside. "Mama!" Her voice was barely audible. I stood immediately. "What is it?" Her finger remained fixed on the darkness beyond the glass. "There he is again!" A chill crawled through me. The room became silent. Every instinct told me not to look. Yet I did. I stepped closer to the window. Rain distorted everything outside. The storm blurred shapes and lights. For several seconds I saw nothing unusual. Then lightning illuminated the parking lot. For a brief instant the world flashed white. And I saw him, a man standing near a row of cars, motionless, watching the hospital. My breath caught. The darkness returned. The figure vanished. I blinked repeatedly, trying to convince myself I imagined it. Then another flash of lightning lit the parking lot. The man was still there, standing perfectly still. His clothing appeared dark, soaked by rain, his face hidden. The hairs on my neck stood up. Ethan stepped beside me. His expression changed instantly. He saw it too. The figure remained motionless, not seeking shelter, not moving, only watching. Then the lights throughout the observation room suddenly failed. Darkness swallowed everything. Several nurses screamed in the hallway. Emergency lights activated seconds later, casting the corridor in a dim red glow. The atmosphere transformed instantly. The hospital no longer felt familiar. It felt sinister. The red lighting stretched shadows across walls. Every corner looked threatening. Every doorway seemed deeper. I turned back toward the window. The parking lot was barely visible now. Only faint outlines remained. Then another bolt of lightning illuminated the storm. The figure was gone. Completely gone. Relief washed through me. Briefly. Then Lily whispered something. A quiet sentence. Soft enough that I almost missed it. "He is not outside anymore." Fear tightened my chest. I slowly turned toward her. She was staring directly at the room's doorway. The dim red emergency lights painted her face crimson, making her look almost unrecognizable. My pulse hammered inside my ears. The doorway stood empty, dark, silent. Yet Lily continued staring, unblinking, as though someone stood there, watching us. Then her eyes shifted slightly upward, following something entering the room. Something moving closer. Ethan stepped in front of us instinctively, his entire body tense. The temperature dropped again, colder than before, cold enough to see faint mist in the air. The heart monitor suddenly activated on its own. Even though it was disconnected, a slow rhythmic beep filled the room. Beep, beep, beep. The sound echoed through the darkness. Every person froze. The disconnected monitor displayed a message across its screen. A message that appeared letter by letter. No one touched the machine. No one stood near it. Yet the words continued appearing, slowly, deliberately, until the final sentence filled the screen. Ethan read it first. The color vanished from his face. My legs felt weak, because the message displayed only 6 words, and every one of them filled me with terror. I found my daughter at last. No one spoke. The words remained glowing on the monitor, bright against the darkness. I stared at the screen, trying to understand what I was seeing, trying to find a logical explanation. But none came. The machine was disconnected. There was no reason it should have been operating. No reason it should have displayed anything. A nurse rushed forward, her hands shaking. She unplugged the monitor completely. The screen went black. For 1 second. Then the message returned. I found my daughter at last. The nurse stumbled backward. Terror filled her eyes. The physician grabbed the machine, examining every cable, every connection. His face grew paler with each passing second. "There is no power source." The words echoed through the room. My stomach twisted. Lily remained sitting upright, perfectly still. The red emergency lights reflected in her eyes, giving them an unnatural glow. Then she slowly turned toward me. "Mama!" Her voice sounded distant, like it was coming from somewhere far away. "Do not be afraid." The statement frightened me even more. I moved closer, taking her hand. It felt warm again, almost feverish. "Lily, what is happening?" She looked confused, as though she did not understand the question. Then her gaze, drifted toward the dark corner of the room. Someone stood there. At least that was what her eyes seemed to suggest. The corner itself remained empty, yet she watched it carefully, following movements invisible to everyone else. Thunder exploded outside. The windows rattled. Rain lashed against the glass. For a brief moment, lightning illuminated the room. And I thought I saw a shape, tall, standing near the wall. Gone almost instantly. My heart nearly stopped. The room plunged back into crimson darkness. Ethan saw it too. I knew he did, because his expression changed immediately. His breathing became shallow. The physician ordered security to the room. 2 guards arrived minutes later. Large men, confident men, the kind who seemed impossible to intimidate, yet even they appeared uncomfortable. The atmosphere affected everyone. The strange cold, the failing lights, the message on the monitor. None of it felt normal. One guard inspected the hallway. The other remained near the doorway. Several minutes passed. Nothing happened. Gradually people relaxed. The tension eased. The physician began discussing transfer options, additional testing, possible explanations, science, logic, reality. Everyone desperately clung to those things. Then a scream erupted from the hallway. The sound shattered the calm instantly. Everyone rushed toward the door. The guard stationed outside stood frozen. His flashlight lay on the floor. The beam pointed toward the ceiling. His face had gone completely white. What happened? No answer. He simply pointed. Down the hallway. Toward the security camera, mounted above the nurse's station. Several staff members gathered around a nearby monitor. The camera footage played in silence. The image showed the corridor moments earlier. Empty. Quiet. Then a figure appeared. Not entering from a doorway. Not emerging from an elevator. Appearing. As though materializing from thin air. The image quality distorted immediately. Static rippled across the screen. The figure stood motionless, facing Lily's room. The recording timestamp began flickering. Numbers changing rapidly. Forward. Backward. Forward again. The staff watched in horrified silence. Then the figure started moving. Slowly, step by step, toward our room. Each movement caused more interference. The image broke apart. Lines of static filled the screen. Yet the figure remained visible, drawing closer, 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 until it reached the door. Then the recording ended, not because the footage stopped, because the camera failed completely. The screen turned black. No one spoke. The silence felt unbearable. One nurse quietly began crying. The physician rubbed his face, trying to process what he had witnessed. Then a new sound echoed through the hallway. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming from somewhere nearby. Every person froze. The footsteps continued, heavy against the polished floor. One step, then another, then another. The sound drew closer. The guards moved forward, flashlights raised, searching the darkness. The corridor stretched empty before them. No one appeared, yet the footsteps continued, echoing through the hall, approaching steadily. My pulse pounded painfully. The sound stopped directly outside Lily's room. Complete silence followed. Several long seconds passed. No movement, no breathing, nothing. Then 3 slow knocks struck the door. The sound made everyone jump. Knock, knock, knock. The guard nearest the entrance grabbed the handle. He pulled the door open instantly. The hallway beyond was empty. No person, no shadow, nothing. Only red emergency lighting. And silence. The guard stepped outside. His flashlight beam swept the corridor. Still nothing. Then Lily spoke again. Softly, calmly. He wants to come in. The guard turned toward her. Fear flickered across his face. The door slowly began closing by itself. No one touched it. The movement was gradual, smooth, almost gentle, until it clicked shut. A loud metallic bang echoed somewhere deep inside the hospital. Then another, as though doors throughout the building were slamming shut one by one. Staff radios crackled simultaneously. Urgent voices filled the air. Reports came from every floor. Elevators malfunctioning, lights failing, patients reporting strange sightings, security cameras shutting down. The entire hospital seemed to be descending into chaos, and at the center of it all sat Lily, silent, watching something that none of us could see. Then she smiled, a small smile. The first smile she had shown all night, yet it filled me with dread, because it was not directed at me, or Ethan, or anyone in the room. It was directed toward the empty chair beside her bed, as though someone had finally taken a seat there. And when she spoke next, her voice carried a warmth that made my blood run cold. "Hello!" She paused, listening, as though someone had answered. Then her smile widened, and she whispered, "I have been waiting for you." The room fell silent. Every person stared at Lily, waiting, listening, expecting another impossible thing to happen. Her eyes remained fixed on the empty chair, bright, focused, attentive, as though she could see every detail of someone sitting there. Then she nodded slowly, like she was responding to a question. My chest tightened. "Lily!" My voice shook. "Who are you talking to?" She turned toward me. For a moment, she looked like an ordinary child again. Confused, tired, fragile. Then her gaze drifted back toward the chair. "The man." The words barely escaped her lips. The temperature dropped another degree. Cold air brushed against my skin. The kind of cold that belonged outside during winter. Not inside a hospital. Not in the middle of a heated room. The physician quietly instructed everyone to remain calm. But his voice betrayed him. He was afraid. The nurses were afraid. The guards were afraid. Even Ethan looked shaken. Then Lily suddenly frowned. Her expression changed. The smile vanished. A look of concern replaced it. She tilted her head slightly, listening, carefully. The silence stretched. Then her eyes widened. "He is angry." The words struck the room like a thunderclap. The lights flickered violently. Several bulbs burst overhead. Glass shattered across the floor. Nurses screamed. The remaining lights dimmed further. The observation room sank deeper into shadow. Only the red emergency glow remained, painting everything in blood-colored light. The heart monitor began beeping rapidly, even though it remained disconnected. Faster, faster, faster. Then it stopped completely. A horrifying silence followed. The empty chair suddenly slid backward, scraping across the floor. Every person jumped. The sound echoed through the room. Long, loud, impossible. No one touched it. No one stood near it. Yet it had moved. The chair continued drifting, inch by inch, as though someone had just stood up. A nurse burst into tears. One of the guards backed toward the wall. The physician looked moments away from collapsing. Then a loud crash erupted somewhere down the corridor, followed by another, and another. The sounds traveled closer, room after room, door after door. Something was moving through the hospital. Something powerful. Something angry. The radio clipped to one guard's shoulder crackled. Static filled the speaker. Then a terrified voice emerged. "We have a situation on the 4th floor." The transmission broke apart. Static swallowed several words. Then another sentence became clear. "There is someone walking through the halls." The voice sounded breathless, panicked. "We cannot identify him." More static. Then silence. The connection died. Every person in the room exchanged nervous glances. Rain hammered the windows. Thunder shook the building. The storm outside seemed to mirror the chaos inside. Lily suddenly gasped. Her small body stiffened. Her eyes locked onto the doorway. A shadow stretched across the floor. Long, distorted, slowly creeping beneath the closed door. My blood turned to ice. The shadow continued growing, stretching farther into the room. Toward Lily's bed. Toward us. The guards rushed forward. One threw open the door. The hallway beyond stood empty. Again. No person. No movement. Nothing. Yet the shadow remained, still spreading across the floor, existing without a source. The guard stepped into the corridor. His flashlight swept left, then right. His breathing echoed through the silence. Suddenly his flashlight went out. The hallway swallowed him in darkness. A second later he screamed. A raw sound of pure terror. The kind of scream no one ever forgets. Everyone rushed toward the doorway. The second guard shined his flashlight down the corridor. The beam revealed empty floors, silent walls. No sign of the missing guard. He was simply gone, vanished, as though he had never existed. The remaining guard called his name repeatedly. No answer came, only silence. Then the flashlight beam landed on something near the far wall. A security badge. The missing guard's badge. Lying alone on the floor. My hands trembled. Ethan stepped closer to me. Protectively. Instinctively. The years between us suddenly felt meaningless. Fear erased everything else. Another thunderclap exploded overhead. The windows rattled violently. Then every television screen in the ward turned on simultaneously. The sudden glow startled everyone. Different channels appeared. News broadcasts, medical programs, advertisements, all playing at once. Then the screens flickered, the images distorted. Static consumed every display. And one face appeared, the same face on every screen. A man, middle-aged, pale, his dark shirt stained with blood. The man Lily described. The man from the parking lot. The man from the hallway. His eyes stared directly into the cameras, directly into us. A nurse collapsed into a chair. The physician whispered something under his breath. A prayer. Perhaps. The image remained motionless. Then the man's lips began moving. The televisions had no sound. Yet somehow every person heard the words. Not through speakers. Not through the air. Inside their minds. A voice. Cold. Heavy. Ancient. I came for my daughter. The screens exploded simultaneously. Glass erupted across the room. Sparks filled the air. Darkness returned. Complete darkness. For several terrifying seconds, nobody could see anything. Then emergency lighting activated once more. Dim. Red. Flickering. The room looked different now. Wrong somehow. The walls appeared darker. The shadows deeper. The atmosphere heavier. Then Lily quietly pointed toward the window. Every person turned. Rain streamed down the glass. Lightning flashed outside. And there he stood. Not in the parking lot. Not across the street. Directly outside the window. 5 stories above the ground. Standing on empty air. Motionless. Watching us. His pale face pressed close to the glass. His eyes fixed on Lily. And as another bolt of lightning illuminated the storm, I finally recognized him. Because years ago I had seen that face in a newspaper article. A photograph attached to a tragic story. A story about a man who died under mysterious circumstances inside this very hospital. A man who had been buried 10 years ago. A man whose name was written on a plaque in the hospital memorial garden. And now he was standing outside my daughter's window, smiling. My breath stopped. Every memory from that newspaper article came rushing back. The man had been a patient, a father, a man who arrived at the hospital after a terrible accident. Doctors fought to save him. They failed. The article described a grieving family, a wife, an unborn child, a tragedy that haunted the hospital for years. And now his face stared at us through a 5th-floor window. Rain streamed across his features, yet he remained perfectly still, unmoving, watching. Lightning flashed again. This time his smile widened. The sight made my stomach twist. Then the glass trembled. A faint vibration passed through the window. The sound grew louder. A low hum, deep, unnatural. The entire pane began shaking. Cracks appeared near the corners, tiny at first, then spreading, branching outward like veins. Nurses backed away. The physician shouted for everyone to leave. But before anyone could move, Lily stood. She had been sitting in bed only moments earlier. Now she was standing, barefoot, silent, facing the window. Her hospital bracelet dangled from her wrist. The red emergency light reflected in her eyes. She took one step forward, then another. I rushed to stop her, but she gently pulled away, far stronger than a child should have been. The realization sent fear surging through me. Lily! My voice trembled. She never looked at me. Her attention remained fixed on the figure outside. The cracks continued spreading. The glass groaned. Then the man slowly raised one hand. A pale hand. Thin fingers. Rain dripping from the skin. And Lily mirrored the gesture. Her small hand rose into the air, matching his movement exactly. The room became impossibly cold. Everyone's breath turned visible. White clouds hanging in the air. The lights flickered violently. The heart monitor erupted into alarms again. Its screen flashed random symbols, numbers, letters, images. Then a photograph appeared. An old photograph. The same man, standing beside a woman, both smiling. The date beneath the image was 11 years old. The physician stared at the screen. Recognition filled his face. I know him. His whisper barely carried across the room. Everyone turned toward him. The physician looked horrified. He was my patient. Silence followed. The physician's hands trembled. He died here. His eyes remained fixed on the photograph. I was the doctor who signed his death certificate. A violent crash interrupted him. The window exploded inward. Glass filled the room. Nurses screamed. People dropped to the floor. Wind roared through the opening. Rain blasted inside. Curtains whipped wildly. Medical equipment toppled over. Yet through the chaos, one thing felt wrong. The man was gone. The space outside the broken window stood empty. Only darkness remained. Only the storm. No trace of him. No sign he had ever been there. The physician slowly approached the shattered opening. Carefully, fearfully, he looked down. 5 stories to the ground. Nothing. Then he stepped back suddenly. His face drained of color. "What is it?" Ethan asked. The physician pointed downward. Far below, toward the hospital courtyard. Everyone looked. And there he stood. The same man. Directly beneath the window. Motionless. Looking up. Rain pouring over him. Then he vanished. Not walking away. Not running. Simply disappearing. The courtyard became empty. A terrible silence settled over the room. Then Lily gasped sharply. Her body stiffened. Her eyes widened. And she collapsed. I lunged forward, catching her before she hit the floor. "Lily!" No response. Her skin burned beneath my hands. Hotter than ever. The physician checked her pulse. Then checked again. Confusion crossed his face. "What is wrong?" I demanded. His expression darkened. "I cannot find one." The room spun. "What do you mean?" The physician looked stunned. "There is no pulse." My heart nearly stopped. Ethan immediately examined her. His fingers pressed against her neck. Then her wrist. Then her chest. His face turned pale. The physician was right. No pulse. No heartbeat. Nothing. Yet Lily was breathing. Her chest continued rising and falling. Slowly. Steadily. As though she existed outside the normal rules of life. A nurse began crying again. The physician stepped away, unable to explain what he was witnessing. Then Lily's eyes opened. Instantly. Wide. Alert. She sat upright, looking directly at Ethan. The movement startled everyone. Her voice emerged calm and clear. "He is here." Every person froze. The room felt smaller. The shadows seemed darker. Ethan slowly turned around. The doorway stood open. The hallway beyond stretched silent and empty. Nothing moved. Nothing appeared. Yet an overwhelming sensation filled the room. A presence. Heavy. Watching. Waiting. Then footsteps echoed from somewhere nearby. Slow. Measured. Approaching. Each step sent chills through my body. The sound grew louder. Closer. Closer. Until it stopped directly outside the room. No one breathed. No one moved. The storm raged beyond the broken window. Rain lashed the walls. Thunder shook the building. And in the silence that followed, a single voice emerged from the hallway. Deep. Calm. Filled with sorrow. A voice that belonged to no living person. "I have searched for her for 10 years. The nurses backed away. The physician nearly collapsed into a chair. Ethan stood frozen. The voice spoke again. Closer this time. As long as I remained lost, she remained lost too. A shadow appeared beneath the doorway. Dark. Unnatural. Slowly spreading across the floor. Toward Lily's bed. Toward us. Then Lily whispered something that made every hair on my body stand upright. A sentence spoken with complete certainty. A sentence that shattered everything I thought I knew. "He is not looking for me." She turned toward me. Fear filled her eyes for the first time all night. And in a trembling voice she said, "He is looking for you, Mama." The words struck me harder than anything that had happened that night. The room seemed to tilt. My hands tightened around Lily. "What do you mean?" My voice barely worked. Lily looked frightened. More frightened than I had ever seen her. Tears gathered in her eyes. "He keeps saying your name." The shadow beneath the doorway stopped moving. The air grew still. The storm outside seemed distant, muted, as though the entire world was holding its breath. Then the voice spoke again, closer than before. "I never came for the child." A figure slowly appeared in the hallway. Not fully solid, not entirely transparent. The same man from the window. The same face from the photograph. The same sorrow-filled eyes. He stepped into the room. No one tried to stop him. No one could. Fear rooted everyone in place. The man looked directly at me. Not with anger. Not with hatred. With sadness. Deep sadness. The kind that comes from carrying a burden for too long. You know who I am. I slowly nodded. The newspaper article. The hospital memorial. The tragedy. The pieces suddenly began fitting together. Then another memory surfaced. A memory I had buried years ago. Before Lily was born. Before Ethan left. Before my entire life changed. I had volunteered at this hospital during college. One rainy evening. One terrible evening. An accident victim had arrived. A man fighting for his life. A desperate wife at his side. Doctors rushing through crowded hallways. Chaos everywhere. I remembered being asked to deliver paperwork. A single folder. A single message. One important detail about the patient's condition. I had become distracted. The paperwork sat unattended. Critical information arrived too late. The man died that night. I never forgot it. I never forgave myself. The figure slowly nodded, as though reading my thoughts. You carry the guilt. Tears filled my eyes. I was young. The words came out broken. I made a mistake. The man's expression softened. I know. The room fell silent. The coldness that had haunted the hospital all night began fading. The shadows seemed lighter. The air easier to breathe. The figure looked toward Lily, then smiled gently. Not the unsettling smile from before. A peaceful one. I found her because she could hear me. Lily stared back. No longer afraid. Only curious. The man looked at Ethan next. Then at me. You gave her kindness. His gaze returned to Lily. That kindness opened a door. The storm outside weakened. Rain softened against the windows. The distant thunder faded. The figure turned back toward me. For the first time all night, his eyes looked calm. I never wanted revenge. A lump formed in my throat. I am sorry. The words escaped before I could stop them. Years of guilt poured into that simple sentence. The figure smiled. A genuine smile. The kind that carried relief. I know. The lights stopped flickering. The monitors returned to normal. The strange cold disappeared completely. The hospital felt like a hospital again. Bright. Ordinary. Safe. The figure slowly began fading. Like mist dissolving in sunlight, his outline grew weaker. More transparent. Lily suddenly reached out. Will I see you again? The man looked at her one final time. His smile widened. No. His voice sounded peaceful now. That means I finally found my way home. A warm sensation filled the room. Comforting. Gentle. The complete opposite of the fear that had haunted the night. Then he was gone. No flash. No sound. No dramatic farewell. Simply gone. The room stood silent. Everyone staring at the empty space where he had been. Moments later, Lily's heart monitor beeped. A steady rhythm. Strong. Healthy. The physician checked her pulse. Then checked again. A look of astonishment crossed his face. It is normal. Relief flooded through me. Tears streamed down my cheeks. I pulled Lily into my arms, holding her tighter than ever before. She hugged me back. Warm. Alive. Safe. Outside, the storm clouds began breaking apart. Moonlight slipped through the windows. Silver light replacing the red emergency glow. The nightmare was over. By morning, the hospital had no explanation for what happened. The security footage was corrupted. The broken equipment revealed nothing unusual. Every strange record vanished, as though the night had erased itself. Weeks later, Lily made a full recovery. Her fever disappeared. The strange episodes never returned. Life slowly returned to normal. And Ethan remained, not as a ghost from my past, not as the man who left, but as someone determined to make up for lost years. One quiet evening, months later, Lily and I visited the hospital garden. The memorial plaque still stood among the flowers. Polished stone, simple words, a name, a life remembered, a life finally at peace. A gentle breeze moved through the trees. Lily smiled toward the sky, then squeezed my hand. And for the first time since that terrifying night, I felt something I thought I had lost forever. Peace, real peace, the kind that arrives when old wounds finally heal, the kind that arrives when the past finally lets go. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, I knew some stories end with fear, but ours ended with forgiveness, and that made all the difference.